Hello friends, welcome to my channel MJS Knowledge Hub. I am Jhana Shree, your guide and mentor for your exam preparations regarding CA and CS courses, and today I am in front of you for this IDT Amendments, Indirect Tax Amendments for CA Final for the May 2020 exam. I hope you're preparing well because now the dates are being declared by the ICAI and time is running short. Already 10 days has been over since the year has started. And every day, every minute counts, and we need to put our best effort so that we'll be clearing in this attempt. Then first question comes, is it really the many amendments to be followed? Not that huge amendments have been there are not many statutory updates, but yes, once you try to equip yourself, you can avoid the last minute rush and incorporate these changes in your preparation as well. But before moving forward, I request you to kindly subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon, and please share this video to your friends so that they can also get benefited with this lecture. Mostly I'll be covering the entire statutory updates for the IDT in 2 to 3 videos, which will be restricted to a time limit of say 1 or 1.5 hour each, so that you people can easily take your time out in a day and listen to it, and keep on revising the updates so that you can incorporate the preparation. So without much delay, let's get started. So friends, you'll be wondering where you'll be getting this PDF. In the description box below I have shared the link, and also the link to the website where you'll be getting this PDF with very small nominal fees, and you can take the PDF and you can keep with you while you're revising this amendments thing. Okay, so here we'll be using the PDF done by me as well as simultaneously for reference bits and parts of ICS study material for the IDT where definitions are required, so that we can incorporate those definitions and you can revise them that too simultaneously. Okay, the first part being from Goods and Services Tax GST, and first will be from chapter 2 Supply under GST. So what is the first update? First one is service by the way of grant of alcohol liquor license is neither supply of goods nor supply of service. By listening to these words, you'll be thinking that you have heard it somewhere exactly in terms of section 7 subsection 2 of CGST Act, where we have studied that few transactions or activities undertaken by the government, the central government or state government or local authority, in which they are engaged as public authorities, is not treated as supply of goods and not treated as supply of service. Right? In that list, one more transaction has been added, that is service by the way of grant of alcohol liquor license against consideration in the form of license fee or application fee. Like if you want to deal or do transaction alcohol liquor, you need to obtain license from the government, right? So you'll pay a consideration to them. So that transaction or that service is not considered as supply of goods, nor it is considered as supply of service. Therefore, it is neither supply of goods nor supply of service, and these the GST is not applicable for this transaction. But if any other service provided by the government to the business entity in the form of granting license for any consideration, like giving any privilege rights or giving any mining rights, which is done by the government for a consideration, like the receiving payment for providing the license, then these are taxable. So only the service by the way of grant of alcohol liquor for any consideration is not considered as supply of good, nor it is considered supply of service. Okay, so this is the first update. Second, clarification in respect of the goods sent or taken out of India for exhibition or on consignment basis for export promotion. So here what's happening, the goods are taken out of India. Okay, they're taken out of India for the purpose of exhibition or on the consignment basis for export promotion. Here the question comes, it will be considered as supply. So here what we need to remember, first thing, we need to once study the definition of supply. So the supply definition is given in the section number 7, right? So section number 7, section 7 subsection 1 defines supply. What does it say? Supply includes all form of supply of goods or services or both, such as sale, transfer, barter, exchange, license, rental, lease, or disposal made or agreed to be made for a consideration by a person in the course or furtherance of business. So here what we need to focus, the key terms are, first thing, consideration. Like you're giving this, you're doing the supply for in exchange for receiving some consideration, and it is done by a person in the course or furtherance of business. So here supply, the main condition, two important things, like it needs to have a consideration and it must be in the course or furtherance of business. Okay. Only the exception will be for the transaction specified in Schedule 1, where supply even without consideration is taken. Then, Section 16 of IGST Act deals with zero-rated supply. What is zero-rated supply? What is the definition is? It is export of goods or services or both, or supply of goods or services or both to a special economic zone unit, or to a SEZ developer. So anything if you supply to these two people only called as zero-rated supply. But here what's happening? Here the goods are taken out of India for exhibition. Okay. They are not taken out of India for any consideration. Of course, the transaction will be different once in the exhibition. If any goods are sold out, then accordingly the GST will be applicable. But now when the goods are going outside, you are not doing it for any consideration, because the main element of consideration, receiving any amount for this sending the goods out, is not there. Therefore it will not be called as supply. And similarly, they are not being sent to any SEZ unit or SEZ developer. Therefore they are also not called as zero-rated supply. Therefore for this transaction, to a limit of sending the goods out of India for exhibition or on consignment basis for export promotion, the GST is not leviable. Okay. I hope my speed is fine and you're going good, and I strongly urge people to pause the video in between and read the paragraph then and there, so that you can remember it well. Okay, so now let's get forward. Third one, levy of GST on the services of display of name or placing of the name plate of the donor in the premises of charitable organization receiving donation or gift from individual donors. You need to focus on from the individual donors. Okay, so a person, let us say, if you go to any charitable organization, or let us say any you can take an orphanage or old age home, you may be finding that in front of the hall or in front of any place, like it will be donated in memory of, or given, received in gratitude from. So these boards are kept denoting that this so and so person has contributed money for development of this particular place, right? So like these nameplates which these institutions are placing in response or in gratitude, in expression of gratitude for the donation being received, this will not be treated as a service. Why? Because let us take example, received in memory of or built in the memory of, say, let us say late Mr. Rajesh, example. Okay. So this has been written by the donor on to be displayed on outside of the hall or outside of the room, which for the construction of which he has donated. So here nothing is given to form in the form of publicity. So nothing, description is not in the form of giving publicity to the donor, or it is not in the form of giving publicity or advertisement for the business done by the donor, right? Because the institution, the charitable institution which is receiving the consideration or receiving that money, is nowhere has any obligation to do anything for them. They're receiving it because they're giving it as a form of charity, for using it for any beneficial purpose, but not for promoting their business or promoting themselves. Therefore, we can say that the display of the name board or nameplate of the donor, which will not be in the form of promotion or advertisement of the business of the donor, will not be considered as a supply. Therefore, no GST liability on such considerations. Okay. So I hope you're doing good. Now let us continue. The chapter number 3, charge of GST. First thing, manufacture of aerated water and supplier of aerated water cannot opt to pay tax under composition levy. What is this aerated water? Your favorite cold drinks, Coke, Thumbs Up. So like water combined with carbonated water with sugar substance. So they are called aerated waters. If you remember in section number 10, which deals with the composition levy, a few manufacturers Remember here, section number 10, erstwhile used to discuss for 3 items the manufacturers, not the traders. The manufacturers of pan masala, tobacco and other tobacco substitutes, ice cream and other edible ice, whether or not containing cocoa. These 3 manufacturers are not eligible to be registered for the composition scheme, right? The traders can do, but not the manufacturers. Now a new entry is there, that here the manufacturer of aerated water as well as supplier of aerated water, both these people cannot opt for composition scheme. So if in your question you will be getting that, let us say the Mr. Trader X is dealing in cloth and also has a another vertical with supply of aerated water. He can, once upon a time he can take composition scheme for both these things, but now since we got one entry now for this aerated water thing, he cannot opt in for the composition scheme. Okay, so manufacturer of aerated water and supplier of aerated water cannot opt to pay tax under the composition levy. Then we are next having certain amendments in the reverse charge notification. Okay, so reverse charge payments, certain amendments, and let us see one by one. Okay, so first one to be covered in the reverse charge notification are payment of tax under RCM basis is made optional in the case of supply of service by an author by way of transfer or permitting the use or enjoyment of a copyright relating to original literary work to a publisher. Here what's happening? Here first thing, the author who is writing the book is the supplier of service, like he is writing the book and giving it to the publisher, and publisher located taxable territory recipient of the author's service. Okay, so earlier used to be that the RC on the basis of RCM basis the publisher used to pay tax, but now an option has been given. Okay, so option has been given to the author to pay the tax on a forward charge if he is a registered person. And once he has chosen to pay tax on the forward charge mechanism, he cannot withdraw from that option within the period of 1 year from date of exercising such option. And he has to give us the required declaration, and he need to pay the taxes under forward charge mechanism for the services supplied by him to the publisher. Therefore, the payment of tax on reverse charge mechanism is an option now. Okay, in the case of supply of service by author to the publisher. Okay. Next, second one is services by the way of renting of motor vehicle provided to a body corporate. If we understand this line slowly, services are provided to whom? Provided to a body corporate, means recipient of service is a body corporate. And then who should be the supplier? Supplier is any person who is other than body corporate paying a tax of 2.5%. Like CGST, SGST 2.5 each, then only will be covered under RCM, right? So what is the service on renting of motor vehicle? Okay, so and this renting of motor vehicle, if you remember section 17 subsection 5, this credit for the motor vehicle is blocked, provided the credit of ITC will be getting only when you're providing you're using it for the further supply, like you're using it for the supply of the vehicles again to your customers, or you're using it for the transportation of passengers, then only you can take the credit. Similarly, the same thing is being given here. The ITC offered the input services can be used if the input service is from the same line of business. Like if the person who is providing this service of renting of motor vehicle to a body corporate can take the ITC only when he has received the same from the other party. Therefore, supplier is any person other than body corporate, and recipient is a body corporate local taxable trade. And what is the service he is getting? He is getting renting of motor vehicle provided to a body corporate. Sorry, renting of the motor vehicle. And this, in this transaction, the recipient, the body corporate, will discharge the liability in the RCM basis. Okay. Then services of lending of security under securities lending scheme 1997. So, first let us try to understand what is this Securities Lending Scheme 1997 is all about. By the plain reading of the name Security Lending Scheme, we understand it is being under the control by SEBI. Okay. Then here what will actually happen? This is a mechanism in order to infuse liquidity into the market, and it is entirely taken place on the stock exchange. Okay. First here the definition will be of two people. One thing, the lender and the borrower. So the lender is a person who is having certain shares with him or certain securities with him, which he is holding it not in the intention of selling it, but he is holding those securities. and the borrower is a person who needs the security to discharge his obligation on the stock exchange. Okay, but this borrower is not having those securities, and he has to meet the obligation. So now the SEBI has it has designed a mechanism where through the help of the stock exchange, this lender can lend those securities on payment of certain fees by the borrower for certain specified period, with the condition that the borrower will return the equivalent securities of the same type or of same class at the end of the specified period, along with the corporate benefits. Like suppose if the shares at that particular point of time got some dividend. Now the securities are with the shares are with the borrower. So he has to return those same equivalent securities at the end of specified period along with that dividend benefits. Okay, so security lending scheme is happening in the stock exchange where the both parties don't know each other. The only thing what happens is that lender gives those securities to the borrower on the payment of certain specified fees, and the borrower adhering to the conditions must return back after specified period the equivalent type of securities along with the corporate benefits. Okay, so who is the supplier here? The lender. Lender is a person who deposits the securities which is registered in his name with the approved intermediary. Approved intermediary means stock exchange. Okay, and then the recipient of the service is a borrower. He is the person who borrows securities under the scheme through to the approved intermediary of SEBI. In this transaction, lender will charge certain fees to the borrower, and this fees is taken as a consideration for this activity. Here what we need to focus is that the definition of securities. We know that the securities will not be considered as a good or not be considered as a supply of good, nor it is considered supply of service. Okay, therefore transaction security will not involve the GST, because here what's happening, the shares or the securities are given as in the form of a loan, like they are lent, they are not disposed of. So, since they are not disposed of, they will not include any supply. And the security lending scheme will not treat the lending of security as disposal of security. Therefore, this transaction is not this transaction is having the characteristic of lending. So, this activity of lending is taken as a service. Securities are not defined, is not taken as supply of service, nor is not considered the definition of service, nor it is considered definition of goods. Fine, but the activity of lending the security is considered as a service. Therefore, the lending fee which is charged from the borrower of the security is taken as a consideration, and that fees is chargeable to tax. Then who has to discharge this liability? On the reverse charge basis, the borrower of security has to discharge the liability. Okay, and what is the GST type of call? Because it can take place from any state, right? You can't define a particular state here, that lender can be from one state and borrower can be from another state. Therefore, the nature of GST to be paid shall be IGST. So, the borrower from October 1st, 2019, he will be discharging the liability, the IGST, on the reverse charge basis. So, this is regarding services of lending of security under reverse charge scheme securities under security lending scheme 1997. Hope I am clear. Please pause in between and once read the entire content, so that you will be finding it very easy to understand and grasp the subject. Then next, here comes clarification on issue of GST on airport levies. What's happening here? First thing we need to understand here in this GST on the airport levies is, we have Airport Authority of India, AAI. Okay, so these people is the government regulator who will be regulating the airline services, right? And also they'll be also having their control over the airport operators. So technically, Airport Authority of India is the airport operator, but they'll be giving that on the payment of the license fees. It will be giving it to any particular company like GVK Group, which is having their airport, Rajiv Gandhi International Airport in Hyderabad. So they'll be giving the license to those people to manage the airport, but airport operator is Airport Authority of India. And these airlines like Indigo or TrueJet or AirAsia, so these or Lufthansa, these people will pay the required amount to these operators so that they can use the airport to fly their planes. So this is what broadly happens. Now there are certain rules, aircraft rules under Rule 88 and Rule 89. We need not know what the rule is, but the rule says that this airport operator who is operating the airport, he has to collect charges from the passengers by the name of two way of fees. First thing is passenger service fee (PSF) and also user development fee (UDF). This is for providing the services to the passengers in the airport. Okay, so what will happen here actually? Here now, when the airlines like the Indigo or the Trojan, when they're issuing the ticket, they will be specifically providing in the value column that this is the amount which is being charged from the passenger and is collected by the airport operator, and it is included in the value of supply. So you will be having this all the list of value of supply in the ticket, and separate in the separate section you'll be having like PSF and UDF, which is also a part of the supply service, which is also part of value of supply. Therefore, here now what's happening? The passengers are paying GST on the UDF and PSF also, and the airlines are submitting the GST to the government. So we can't say that no GST is being collected on these two charges. Actually, it is being collected. So the airport operators who has to pay the GST on PSF and UDF is actually being paid because it is the part of value of supply and it is being collected inclusive of GST. Okay. Then what will happen? Now the airlines are collecting these charges from the passengers and giving it to the airport operator. So what is the airport operator, Airport Authority of India doing? For this service received from the airline, it is giving 5 rupees per passenger. The collection charges, it is paying back to the airlines 5 rupees per passenger, which they need not pass it to any passenger. If you see the transaction, the airlines are collecting on behalf of the airport operator and giving it to him, and they are receiving 5 rupees as a consideration per passenger. So it is a form of service which they are providing and they are receiving consideration. Therefore, these airlines has to discharge the GST under forward charge. Let's repeat once again. The airlines are collecting the amount from the passengers and giving it to the airport authority. For the service, the Airport Authority of India is giving to the airlines 5 rupees per passenger as the collection charges. So it is a service given by the airline to the airport authority and receiving consideration. Therefore, for this transaction of what they are receiving 5 rupees per passenger, they have to discharge the GST on the forward charge basis. And ITC also can be ITC of the same will be available by the airport operator. Therefore, in this transaction, what we need to understand is that the first transaction from the passengers collection of PSF and UDF is inclusive of GST because it is added to the value of supply, and GST is being given to the government, and indirectly PSF and UDF are inclusive of GST. Therefore, note separately we will not disclose them. Already inclusive, the entire GST is already included in that. And second thing, we need to remember that service provided by the airline of taking the amount from the passengers, giving it to the airport operator and receiving rupees 5 per passenger from them is a service provided by the airlines to the airport operator, and they have to discharge the GST under the forward charge. It is a bit technical, but with a cool mind, you will be able to easily understand it. Okay, now let us proceed to chapter number 4, exemptions from GST. So friends, I think it is so far so good with you all guys. Now let us see chapter number 4, exemption from GST. Here first thing, there are certain amendments related to exemptions relating to supply specific services. Like if you remember, we will be discussing regarding the services to a business entity, like entry number 7 which is regarding services provided by central government, state government, union territory, local authority to any business entity. Or entry 45 as service provided by arbitrary tribunal to any business entity, or a partnership firm of advocates or an individual as an advocate other than senior advocate by the way of legal services to a business entity. a senior advocate by the way of legal services to a business entity. So these four categories. In the erstwhile regime, we have seen that the aggregate turnover of the business entity, if it is more than 20 lakhs or 10 lakhs in the case of special category of states in the preceding financial year, then the exemption is not available to them. So if it's above 20 lakhs, they'll be covered by the GST. Below 20, they're exempted if they receive services from the above people. But now, if you've seen last time that the registration limits has been revised for various states, like some have taken 40 lakhs, some have taken 10, even in the special category states some are 20. So like special category states, there few are only in 10 lakhs. So the registration limits has been, there is a variation for many states. That's why now the line with aggregate turnover up to 20 lakhs or rupees 10 lakh in the case of special category of states in the preceding financial year is being replaced by up to such an amount in the preceding financial year as makes it eligible for exemption. Means if it is within that threshold limit, if it is not crossing that limit for the registration thing, then the exemption is available. So which will make it eligible for exemption from registration under the CGST Act 2017 has been inserted there. So these services which is received by a business entity, if it is not exceeding the limits for registration, then it is eligible for the exemption. So this is the entire play is that since the limitations has been changed for various states, they inserted a line saying that if the business entity is receiving these following services from the entry 7 and entry 45, and if it is not in the preceding financial year, if it is not exceeding the limits which is from which up to which it is exempted from registration, then automatically the exemption will be available. Okay. Then entry number 14. Here what is happening in the erstwhile regime, if you remember, like if the services in the form of hotel or inn or guest house or club or any campsite which is providing the accommodation, and if the supply of the value of supply for that accommodation, if it is below 1000 per day or equivalent, then only it was exempted. But now what the amendment they brought is that the value of accommodation can be at 1000 or below 1000. So erstwhile it used to be pakka below 1000, but now it is 1000 and below. There's a small change. Then entry 19A. This I think many people will remember because 19A because of the time limit. So A you can take for aircraft. So services by the way of what? Transportation of goods by an aircraft from custom station of clearance in India to a place outside India. So you're providing transportation of goods in the form of, in aircraft from custom station in India to a place outside India. This transaction was exempted from GST up to 30th September 2019, just now extended to 30th September 2020. Similarly, entry 19B, the services by way of transportation of the goods by a vessel from a custom station of clearance in India to a place outside India. It was exempted up to 30th September 2019. Now it is exempted. The exemption has been extended up to 30th September 2020. Fine, very good. Then comes entry number 22. What does this say? What exemption does this entry is providing? Services by the way of giving on hire to a state transport undertaking a motor vehicle meant to carry 12 passengers. So any person who is giving his vehicle which can carry more than 12 passengers to any state transport undertaking, then that service is given an exemption. So he need not pay any GST on that service. In that now one more entry has been given that this person, if he is providing the vehicle which is an electronically operated vehicle, means electronic operated vehicle means which is operating with the help of a battery, which can carry more than 12 passengers. If it is an electronically operated vehicle and this person is giving it on hire to the state transport undertaking or to a local authority, then the exemption, he is covered under the exemption and he need not pay GST on this service provided by him. Okay, then the other amendment is entry 35. This entry 35 is regarding several insurance schemes like health insurance scheme or their list of insurance schemes up from A to Q, which a brief reading you can give it be sufficient. In that a clause R, one more new addition has been given, which is regarding the exemption to be provided for the insurance business under Bangla Sahasya Bima scheme. So the Bangladesh has a Bima scheme. If any providing any insurance under this scheme, it is being exempted. Okay. Now there are few totally 3 new entries regarding in the exemption category. Let us see that. First one is entry 9AA and entry 82A. Both these two deal with the FIFA. That is Federation Internationale de Football Association, FIFA. So if any services are provided by FIFA or provided to FIFA and its subsidiaries, either directly or indirectly, for what? For the event undertaken by the FIFA Under 17 Women's World Cup. So this Under 17 Women's World Cup, which is being held in 2020 in India. So India is hosting that FIFA World Cup of Women Under 17. So football thing, and if services are provided by FIFA or to FIFA and its subsidiaries directly or indirectly, will be getting an exemption. Then entry 82A, services by way of right to admission to an event organized under FIFA Under 17 Women's World Cup 2020 is being exempted. Means if you're getting a right to admission, the ticket price for watching this World Cup is now exempted. Then entry number 24B. Here what's happening, you are providing the services of storage or warehousing service. For what products? You are providing it to cereals, fruits, nuts, pulses, vegetables, spices, sugarcane, copra, jaggery, raw vegetable fibers like cotton, jute, unmanufactured tobacco, betel leaves, coffee and tea. So these products, if you are providing the storage or warehousing services for these products then as per entry 24B you will be getting an exemption and you need not pay any GST for providing these services. Then the next one is entry number 29B. If you remember, I think in the last time we have seen that even the coastal guards were also demanding the insurance thing, and they also got an exemption for the services provided, right? Similarly, here the services of life insurance provided or agreed to be provided by whom? Central Armed Police Forces Group Insurance Fund. So, like we have armed forces in various categories like CRPF, PSF. So, the one category is Central Armed Police Forces, and they'll be having a group insurance fund. So, if this fund provides any service to the members under the group insurance scheme, then that service is exempted. So, life insurance service provided by the Central Armed Police Force Group Insurance Fund to their members under the group insurance scheme of the concerned fund of the concerned armed force, it is granted an exemption. Okay. So, I hope till now you people are doing good. So, please pause and once revise and just come back. Then, here we have a clarification regarding applicability of GST on delayed payment charges in the case of late payment of equated monthly installment. What's happening here is that, see, we know EMI, like we'll be paying an portion of interest and principal amount for the loan taken, right? So here, if you have delayed payment of the EMI, you will be levied a penalty, the delayed payment charges. So there's a clarification given by the government regarding applicability of GST on these delayed payment charges. Okay. First thing what we need to understand that, you remember value of supply chapter? Section 15 subsection 2 clause D says the value of supply will include interest or late fee or penalty for delayed payment of the consideration for any supply, right? Here what we need to understand is that, first thing, EMI is what? It's a fixed amount paid by the borrower to a lender at a specified rate on every calendar date, which includes a part of both principal and interest for that loan borrowed. Then we have an entry 27 in the exemption list, which will say that services by the way of extending deposit, loans or advances insofar as the consideration is represented by the way of interest or discount. Like you are giving services by way of extending deposit, you are giving services of a loan, you are giving services of giving an advance, and this you are giving for a consideration which is being represented by the way of interest or discount. So you are receiving interest or you are receiving a discount for these services provided, then these services are coming under the exemption category. Okay, just fix these two concepts in mind. Now, how is the clarification being given? In the market or in the business, if you see, there are two kind of transactions for the EMI. First thing, you are directly paying the good, purchasing the goods on EMI. Like you go to any electronic store, like you'll be having the ready people to finance you. So on the spot, you select your product, and your loan will be approved, and then you will purchase it on EMI. Right, you're getting the point. And then you have delayed payment of EMI. This is one type of transaction. Second, what will happen? You know that you need to buy something, so you've already taken loan, let us say personal loan or something, or you already have some loan which you're diverting here, so you have taken the loan. You have purchased the good and then you have delayed payment in EMI. In the first case, directly you are taking the good on the EMI. But in the second case, you have taken loan and then you have purchased the goods. Okay. In the first case, when you have delayed the payment of EMI, this interest is already included in the EMI thing, right? The amount of interest which you have to pay is already included the value of supply. So value of supply, if you see the classification, when you're buying the good directly on EMI, the interest will be included and then given to you. Like say if you do cash payment, you'll be getting at 40,000. If you take EMI, you need to just pay 44,000. So the value of supply is including of that interest. And then the classification you are getting that it is a part of value of supply. But in the second category, where you are taking the loan and then purchasing the goods and delayed the payment of EMI, here if you see the above entry 27 will apply. Like you have received the service of the loan and it is for a consideration by the way of interest. Therefore, this penal interest will not which is charged on transaction is not subjected to GST because it is under exemption category. So if you take directly with the EMI, then it is a part of value of supply and GST is charged, it has to be discharged. And then if you have taken loan and then you have taken the goods on loan and then you have delayed the EMI thing, then you will be getting an exemption because you are receiving the loan for a consideration which is represented by the way of interest and it is exempted under entry 27. Okay. Now next, we have three more topics and then we'll conclude session for the day. I hope the speed is good, so please pause and revise, and these things are, if you feel a bit technical, just rewind it and once again listen to the concept so that you can understand in a better fashion. Now let us see the next concept. So folks, now we have coming in the other update. This clarification on issue related to GST on monthly subscription or contribution charges by Resident Welfare Association from its members. First thing when we listen, we'll definitely remember that Resident Welfare Association, if they charge more than 7,500 from its members, then they are liable to discharge the GST obligation, right? So, supply of service by Resident Welfare Association, which can be an unincorporated body or a non-profit entity, which is providing the services to its members by the way of reimbursement charges, which will amount to up to 7,500 per member for providing the services, or will come under the exemption category. But if it's more than that, then only the liable to discharge the GST. Suppose the turnover now of the RWA, that is the Resident Welfare Association, if that, because they have to be registered, so they have, because they need to discharge GST, they will be registered, and if the turnover is more than 20 lakhs and the charge on the maintenance of more than 7,500, then they are not exempted. But their turnover is more than 20 lakhs but they're charging less than 7,500 or less, so they are charging 7,500 or less amount of that, then exemption is still available. And again, if the turnover is less than 20 lakhs, again they're charging more than 7,500. This is what we need to understand. If their turnover is less than 20 lakhs but still they are charging more than 7,500, then also they are covered under the exemption. And similarly, if they are charging 7,500 or less, even if their annual turnover is less than 20 lakhs also, then exemption is still covered. So you need to still understand, if the turnover is more than 20 lakhs, charges are more than 7,500, no exemption. Turnover more than 20 lakhs, charges are less than or equal to 7,500, exemption is still available. Turnover less than or equal to 20 lakhs, charging more than 7,500 per month, exemption available. Turnover less than or equal to 20 lakhs, charging less than or equal to 7,500 per month, exemption is still available. Here, can the Welfare Association take any ITC for the services provided? Yes, they can take the ITC paid by them on the capital goods or also the goods and input services which they are providing, like repair and maintenance service to the housing people. And here the other question comes that we need to keep in mind that this charge of 7,500 or more or less whatever the charge is per month basis, and it's for per member and separately applied for per residential unit. So let us say a person is having two units in a housing society, so individually for each housing unit he will pay 7,500 per month as charges. Therefore this charges is per month per member per unit. Okay. Then 10th as per me it is 10th one. So this is regarding clarification on applicability of GST exemption to whom? To DG Shipping, the Director General of Shipping, for providing approved maritime courses conducted by Maritime Training Institutes of India. Once we read this courses or institution, we remember that education institution is defined as an institution providing a service by the way of education or part thereof for obtaining qualification degree as recognized by law. Okay, and we also know that there is some exemption. Generally, it is entry number 66, which deals with exemption, saying that services provided by education institutions to students, faculty, and staff. So, any service provided by the education institution to students, faculty, and staff are exempt from GST only when such institution falls under the definition of education institution. Okay, here now what's happening? This maritime educational institution means this maritime means providing this shipping courses. So maritime training institutes are the education institutions under GST law because they are providing separate qualification which is degree, and they recognized by the law. And these institutes and training courses are approved by Director General of Shipping, which are duly recognized by the Merchant Shipping Act 1958, read with Shipping Standards of Training, Certification and Watch Keeping for Seafarers Rule 2014. So since this is backed up with legal recognition, this falls under the category of education institution, and the training provided by these maritime institutes are eligible for exemption from GST. So the GST is exempted for the courses provided by DG Shipping approved maritime courses conducted by Maritime Training Institute of India. Okay. Now the last day amendment for the day, which will be wrapping up this video, is clarification on the effective date of insertion of an explanation in the notification. It's a very tricky thing which I found. Here what's happening is that section 11 subsection 3 says that government may insert a explanation in the notification within 1 year from the issue of notification. Let us say government has issued a notification on first, you can see the example, 1st July 2018. Okay, and then it has in the notification you can have many entries. Entries can be given there for regarding various clauses. So one entry was inserted at a sake on 21st of September 2018. Then in between, let us say on 25th of July 2019, because 1 year is still there, you have inserted an explanation for that new entry. Then what the amendment came is that what is the clarification given is that the explanation which has been inserted, okay, is effective from the inception of the entry in the notification and not from the date in which the notification becomes effective. Means when the entry has been brought into the notification, from that day the explanation will be effective. Like you can say retrospective implementation, but not from the date of the effective date of the notification. So here in our example, notification was on 1st July, but entry was on 21st of September. But explanation was on the next year of July 25th, right? So then now as per the clarification, the explanation will be effective from 21st of September 2018, means the date when the entry was inserted in the notification. So this is a small clarification given by the government. So this is regarding the amendments till now. So I hope till now we are doing clear and you are able to grasp the amendments. So in the next upcoming video, we will be dealing with the further amendments covering place of supply and also value of supply, input tax credit, registration, and if possible in other chapters also, because totally there we need to cover around 44 including customs and foreign trade policy. So I'll just stop the video here. I request you to once please go through all these 11 points and do let me know how did you feel about the video, and kindly subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon so that you'll be receiving regular updates, and also share this video to your friends so they can also start revising the IDT amendments. So let us meet in the upcoming video. Till then, keep preparing and always keep smiling. Take care.